Okay, dear friends, once again, the original understanding of philosophy. We need to understand, be sensitive to different cultures. For example, the Asian culture. Now, when Europe and America, when they speak about Asian, it's not first India, it is first China. China, Japan, then comes Asia. And, African cultures are very, very important. In our sister institution, Satyanilayam, they used to have a course on African philosophy. But here in India, in JDV, we have not been able to have that openness to the African culture. But you do know that earlier some African students used to come to JDV to attend the classes. Then, although we have to be open to different cultures, let's not forget that philosophy is rooted in being, in the very being of ourselves, in my being, in your being, and in the whole being of the cosmos. And now we are taking a quote from Veritatis. We are talking about the metaphysical element. I mentioned to you the book of Paul, When Breath Becomes Air, Paul Calanity. There also he uses the very term metaphysical. I want you to read through that. So, the metaphysical realm deals with love, joy, freedom, agony, death. So, the metaphysical element is the path to be taken in order to move beyond the crisis pervading large sectors of philosophy at the moment. There is fragmentary nature, to some extent influenced by postmodernism, and we cannot let ourselves be lost. We cannot sell ourselves to nihilism and relativity. These are the two problems which Fides et Ratio brings to our attention. Problem of nihilism and that of relativity. Relativity would say, because there are different cultures, whatever each culture says is right. Moral values are relative to the culture. To some extent, they are right, but they cannot be an absolute value in itself. So, let's read through this. The metaphysical element is the path to be taken in order to move beyond the crisis pervading large sectors of philosophy now. So we need to learn to correct certain mistaken modes of behavior now widespread in our society. We just cannot afford a nihilistic attitude which says everything is fine, including abortion, euthanasia. Life, we believe, has got its own dignity. So, in that sense, our original occasion is to search for the truth. Yeah, this truth is very, very important in Fides et Ratio and also for us, the search for truth. And this search for the truth is epistemological and it is also sapiential, wisdom. That is the basis of philosophy. So the search for truth is metaphysical, wisdom, and this sapiential characteristics of philosophy. That characteristics of philosophy where we long for truth. This implies genuinely metaphysical range capable of transcending empirical data. So we need to transcend the empirical data. This empirical data is given to us by science, by empiricism, by our sense organs. Science is beautiful. The empirical data is the basis, but we also need to go beyond the empirical data to reach some absolute, ultimate, and foundational aspects of truth. So we cannot say everything is true, no. But there are smaller truths which will finally lead us to the bigger truth, the foundational, the ultimate, and the absolute nature of truth. In fact, metaphysics is the first philosophy. It deals with being, its attributes. It deals with being and its attributes, and it deals with the spiritual realities and the first cause of all. The first cause, the uncaused cause, you have already studied. This uncaused cause is God. But metaphysics, the first philosophy, talks about being in its various aspects, including the spiritual dimension and the urge to go beyond. But at the same time, though metaphysics is the first philosophy, we cannot concentrate exclusively on philosophy of being alone. There are other branches that we will see. So, this is a big problem, the segmentation of knowledge. Faced with the segmentation, the fragmentation, we are dividing ourselves into too many minute groups. Faced with the segmentation of knowledge, with its splintered approach to truth and fragmentation of meaning, we need to rediscover an interior unity. This is again a quote from Veritatis. John Paul II says, I wish to reaffirm the conviction that the human being can come to a unified and organic vision of knowledge, an integrated understanding, a holistic approach to knowledge. That is what we would use. So we can come to an integrated, holistic, organic vision of knowledge. That is what the Pope says. Then, philosophical formation within the perspective of open reason, the open reason. We know that in India, we connect truth, satya, to sat, that is the being. There is a necessary ontological connection between the reality, sat, and satya. And in the Christian tradition, there is a necessary connection between truth and love. So, the call of the philosophers is true charity, truth and love, true charity. To defend the truth, to articulate it with humility and conviction, and to bear witness to it in life are therefore exacting and indispensable forms of charity. Exacting, demanding, and indispensable necessary forms of charity is to defend the truth in love. And this can be done only if we have an integrated vision of knowledge. That is why, dear friends, in the final comprehensive exam, we wish that you come up with your own unified synthesis of philosophy, an integrated vision of philosophy, which is not separate from love. This integrated organic union of knowledge gives us a sense of identity, gives us a sense of meaning. And this is what we seek actually in our philosophical undertaking. Now, again, the challenge of exercising, developing, and defending a rationality. We need to defend rationality. Unfortunately, people like Trump, postmodernists, some of them, they say rationality is not to be valued. Everything goes. No. Then the poor will be oppressed more. Still, thousands of people will die of pandemic. No, we need to defend science. Anthony Fauci, who has been defending science repeatedly against the attack from Trump. So we need to defend rationality and science with broader horizons, showing that we can enlarge the area of rationality to link theology, philosophy, and science. See, to link theology, philosophy, and science, You remember the last section of Fides et Ratio is also making an appeal to theologians, philosophers, and scientists. So we need to find some kind of an intrinsic unity that holds all of us together. We are not promoting uniformity. No, there are divisions, distinctions. But in spite of the distinctions, cultural, ethnic, religious distinctions, can we not come together, dialogue with one another, so that there is an organic unity we can match forward? That is a challenge, a philosophical formation within the perspective of open reason. So, we need to rediscover the great logos. Logos is word, logos is meaning, the breadth of reason. And that is the task of a university like JDV. So in a university like JDV, where you are studying, the task is to rediscover the great logos, the word of God, the meaning, the breadth of reason. Reason is precious. Reason envelops practically every aspect of our society, but reason is not absolute. This is precisely the task given to us as philosophers. Now, philosophical formation in ecclesiastical institutions of higher learning, like JDV. In India, there are 8 ecclesiastical institutions of higher learning, that is theology and philosophy. I told you last time itself. 3 of them are run by the Jesuits, JDV, then Satyanilayam in Chennai. They are taking over philosophy, and I think one of these days they are starting their online classes. The second years in Satyanilayam have already begun. The second year means the final years have already begun their online classes. They completed only 1 month. The newcomers will be beginning it only in the next few days. Vidya Jyoti is another one in Delhi. They are focusing on the theology formation. I don't think they still have started the online, but they will be also starting the online course. So the philosophical formation in these kind of institutions. The other such centers are, ecclesiastical centers in India. You have St. Albert's in Ranchi. Then in Bangalore, you have 2 of them, St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary and Dharmara. Then coming to Kerala, you have actually St. Peter's, Aluva, Aluva Pontifical Institute, Aluva, you have Mangalapura and which is the other one, man? Karnavalgiri, Mangalapura. And then Pontifical Institute of Aluva, that is how they call themselves, PIA. Then, which is the last one, anyone can say? Kerala people. Yeah, Vadavadur. You remember that Father Joy Ainiadan who came last year to take class? Joy Ainiadan. He was the rector. Rector means not the president, but rector of the seminary. So Kottayam is another of the seminary.
Father Vidya Jyoti also has started the classes.
Vidya Jyoti has started the classes?
Yeah.
When?
Last week onwards.
Oh, last week onwards. Okay.
From 10th.
But have they started? Have they started for all the 3 years?
Yes, Father. Yes. First years are attending. Yes.
Okay, very good.
Comprehensive is going on, Father, for final year.
Comprehensive. How are the comprehensives over Zoom, or how is it? Or are they there in online comprehensive?
Yes, Father. The students are attending the comprehensive exams, online comprehensive exam.
Okay. I hope you fellows will not have to give online comprehensives. I don't like that idea at all. Anyway, come back. Okay, the philosophical formation in a higher education. In a world rich in scientific and technological knowledge, that is true. We are rich, very rich in scientific and technological world, but we are threatened by relativism. So if we take a stand that everything is relative, then our moral values have no hold. Only a sapiential horizon, the horizon, the reaching out from the wisdom part, can provide us with an integrating vision, as well as a trust in the capacity that reason can serve the truth. This is very important because I know many people, they don't give a acceptance the scientific findings. For example, we are faced with a pandemic situation, and science, 95% of the scientists say wearing a mask is a must. But you know, there are some people, crazy people in America, a few in Europe, who say we want our freedom, we want to go without mask. Now, you know, in America, the Republican convention is taking place, and many people refuse to wear masks. It will affect them, and through them, it will also affect their neighbors. So, can we not collectively accept that reason and science can serve the truth about this pandemic? We don't know the whole truth about it. It will take maybe years, but at least we are moving towards the truth. Therefore, the church strongly encourages a philosophical formation of reason that is open to faith. Reason can also be connected to religion. Connected to science. Science and reason that is open to faith. But at the same time, we should not confuse one with the other. Science is not religion. Religion is not science. We should not confuse. But we should also not disconnect the two. Science and religion are connected, but they are separate. They have their independent and autonomous setup. Theology, in fact, has always needed and still needs philosophical contribution. This is taken from Fides et Ratio. Philosophy has something to contribute to theology. Reason has something to contribute to faith. Science has something to contribute to religion. The crisis of post-conciliar theology is, in fact, the crisis of philosophical foundations. Pope Benedict was very clear about it. You know, Pope Benedict was a theology professor. He has contributed much to the theology of Vatican II. And he would agree the crisis that we face in theology today after Vatican II, post-colonial means, post-conciliar means after Vatican II, 1962 to 65, is also due to our philosophical foundations. The philosophical foundations that we face are not strong, and that is one of the reasons we have crisis in theology. Therefore, it's all interconnected. Philosophy, theology, and science, and the way the world moves on. But at the same time, dear friends, I don't want you to get stuck. Don't be too conservative. But at the same time, be open to reason, because reason alone cannot save us, but reason can save us. Then reason coupled with faith can save us even more. So it is very crucial for future priests to have this crucial stage of intellectual formation. That is, he's talking about philosophical formation. It is crucial for you as future priests to be solidly grounded in the intellectual tradition of our time, to be solidly grounded in philosophy, in reason. John Paul II again, only a solid philosophy can help candidates of priesthood to develop a reflective awareness of the fundamental relationship that exists between the human spirit and truth. We need to be aware what this truth is. A truth which is revealed to us fully in the very person of Jesus. So, to experience To be aware of this fundamental relationship between intellect and truth, we need to have a solid philosophical foundation. Therefore, the study of philosophy is fundamental and indispensable to the structure of theological studies. So, philosophy is fundamental and indispensable to theological formation. That is why it's not by chance that the curriculum of theological studies is preceded by study of philosophy. You know that 2 or 3 years of philosophy are needed before you take up the theology studies. If you are doing a diploma, 2 years are enough. Then you will not get a PhD, but you can study theology. Therefore, the church makes it compulsory, mandatory, that you should spend at least a minimum of 2 years of philosophy studies before you go for theology studies. Habitus. Habitus means the general atmosphere. A intellectual habitus is a must, and that is how we get this awareness of being philosophically minded. And this habitus, this awareness, this ambience makes it possible to think, know, and reason with precision, and also to dialogue with everyone gently, fearlessly, and humbly, with scientists, with people of other religions, and even with atheists. And this is a challenge for us. Oh, okay. So, one is habitus, the general atmosphere. Second, we need to have some content for it. What are we philosophizing? The material. And this content is rooted in the eternally valid philosophical heritage, the wisdom of human beings since at least 2500 years ago. Of course, people before them were also philosophers, but we could not get access to them. Only by writing, we have been able to get more or a better access to them. So, this is actually the challenge, to be rooted in the eternally valid philosophical heritage, to think, to reflect, to pose questions, and to be, to some extent at least, happy with it. So, some of the central importance today, the fundamental truths that are centrally important. One, the capacity to reach objective and universal truth through using metaphysical knowledge. Because there are some people who say we really cannot know anything. Skepticism. Skeptics say we don't know anything, and even if we know, we cannot express it. Then the unity of body and soul in man. I have been trying to say this repeatedly in the philosophy of a human person. Our body and soul, they are different, but at the same time, they are integrally united. We don't believe in a dichotomized vision like Advaita or Plato. The dignity of the human person, between human nature and freedom, the importance of natural law and morality, and the moral act, ethics, for the Nishant has taught you. The necessary conformity between civil law, that is a government law, and moral law. What comes morally to all of us, that should somehow correspond to the civil law. So these are some of the fundamental truths that we hope to derive from philosophy. In this context, Aquinas has done a tremendous job, and his philosophy, called scholastic philosophy, has been of much importance to us. He provides us with a habitus for philosophy, and the document calls him the apostle of truth. But remember, what Aquinas has done is good thing. But we shouldn't cling on only to Aquinas' method also. So the church likes his methodology, but he is an example. And his doctrine is not exclusive. We can also use other people's method also. So his method is also not exclusive. Okay. Now to continue, there is need to point out some of the concerns expressed in Sapientia Christiana. Sapientia Christiana was the document which was like Veritatis Gaudium. This was produced about 400 years ago. And that Sapientia Christiana was the constitution of all our faculties, including JDB. Now, Sapientia Christiana has been replaced by Veritatis Gaudium. Okay, now the reform of philosophy takes some more concrete steps. BPH, instead of BPH, we can also call it the first cycle. MPH, Master of Philosophy, we can call it the second cycle or licentiate. PhD, the third cycle. And JDB offers all these. Besides, you have also diploma, certificate course, and an online course. So these are the three extra ones: the online course, certificate course, the diploma course. So you must have minimum of 5 years of teaching, 2 years of philosophy and 3 years of theology to get a BPH, first cycle, BTH. Or normally most of you take a BPH consisting of 3 years. See, dear friends, don't ever say that you got BPH in 2 years. No, the BPH degree that all of you are getting is a 3-year degree. For the exception students, we have, with the approval of the Congregation of Catholic Education, given you 48 credits. These 48 credits are accredited because of your BA, bachelor's program. Therefore, the course that you do is BPH, first cycle, and it consists of 180 credits, and it is a 3-year program. Master's program is a 2-year program. And the certificate course is also 2-year program. Some of you I know are doing certificate program. That will give you a good BTH, Bachelor in Theology, or first cycle in theology. But then you will not get Bachelor in Philosophy with a 2-year certificate program. So these are some of the things that we had to do. Again, Ecclesiastical Faculties of Philosophy, first cycle, the 3-year course of philosophical studies, may be conditio sine qua non for acquiring an academic recognized in the first year philosophy. So 3 years and 180 credits. That's also very crucial. They don't say this 180 credits, but in the documents they don't say it, but they have written to us and said we need 180 credits. Second cycle, licentiate, MPH, 2 years and 120 credits. Third cycle, I'm very happy to inform you that at JDB there are about 25 people who are doing doctorate. Third cycle, see, what is very important is Veritatis Gaudium says, if you are doing a doctorate in philosophy, you must have a minimum of 3 years. But they don't say the same thing about theology. For theology, that 3-year requirement is not set. But if you are doing a doctorate in theology, in philosophy, you need a minimum of 3 years. But by the way, I would like some of you at least 20% of you to do the second cycle, MPH in philosophy. I mean, those who are interested in philosophy, please pursue. The church needs more people who can think, who can articulate, and who can actually critique. Therefore, I would wish a few of you later take up the second cycle. Okay, philosophical formation in faculties of theology and seminaries. This is not the case of JDB. This is the case of some other seminaries where they have only theology. In such cases, they say the theology faculty itself can offer a 2-year program in theology. A 2-year program in philosophy. That is this one. In order to avoid the risk of fideism. Fideism is the doctrine which says faith alone. I need only faith, I don't need any reason. This is very dangerous because this would make you dogmatic, superstitious. So, the church is warning us against fideism, and one of the ways of getting out of fideism is to bring philosophy or reason into it. Therefore, let us get away from fideism. And if they are doing a 5-year program, you can have theology integrated. Now, these are some technicalities which I'm not really going to go into it. What the teachers should be doing. Then the course content, you are aware of it already. It is very clearly given in the document that essentially the course should consist of systematic philosophy and history of philosophy. And in the first cycle, in history of philosophy, you can have ancient, medieval, modern, contemporary, all of them you have done. Then, this is what I want you to pay attention to. There are 5 distinct areas which you're supposed to be studying in systematic philosophy. One is, this is very important. You remember already we saw the importance of metaphysics. Metaphysics, understood as philosophy of being, that's what Father Isaac is teaching, and natural theology. So, philosophy of being in natural theology, and this is the most important part of our philosophy curriculum. Then you have philosophy of nature, cosmology and so on, which Father Job and Father Stephen Jared teaches. Philosophy of man, you just finished it. Moral and political philosophy, Father Nishant has been doing it. Logic and philosophy of knowledge, that is what is taught by, by Joe Francis and Henry. So it is very clearly given that these 5 are the areas or branches of philosophy, systematic philosophy. And JDB had to struggle to match with this one and to get into this structure. The whole structure, the syllabus of JDB is changed because of that. Then these are the obligatory, basic obligatory courses, and they should be 60%. 60% of 180 is about 120. So you need 120 credits from obligatory basic disciplines, which include those 3 things. Now, of course, the document itself makes it clear that besides these 120 credits, we need also Latin and research methodology. These are the number of professors. Must be at least 3. This is actually when in a theology faculty. In a philosophy faculty, you should have at least 7 professors. Okay. Again, the document is very clearly saying a general introduction, the main philosophical disciplines you have seen, then importance of metaphysics. Adequate number of credits must be given to this. At least 60% of the whole course should be of basic obligatory. You are aware of it, that's why I am skipping past. And then in the supplementary obligatory subjects, the study of the relationship between reason and Christian faith. That is the course that we are doing now. Ours is this supplementary obligatory course. Then Latin, Father Karimundaikil is taking Latin for you, and Latin is obligatory. Then a modern language other than one's mother tongue. Now, this particular part we are not taking seriously because all of us know modern language English, and for the exception students, there is the English test also. So we are not teaching you English except for the regular students. Then, an introduction to methodology of study and scientific research. That is actually the research methodology that you are learning. So besides the 120 credits of obligatory basic, you need to take faith and reason, Latin, and research methodology. So all these things are very clearly given in the document. Then we have different subjects in science like sociology, history, biology. They are all optional additional subjects. Optional additional subjects. So this is the general term. Now comes the faculty must employ on a full-time basis at least 7 duly qualified teachers. We have 10, we are lucky. And in the first cycle, there must be at least 5 full-time teachers. One teacher is allotted to each of these 5 courses. Metaphysics, Father Isaac. Philosophy of nature, Father Jayad. Philosophy of man, myself. Moral and political philosophy, Nishan. Logic and philosophy of knowledge, that would be Henry. That is how we have assigned the courses. So, all these things, when they are very clearly given, we had to make a lot of changes. And thank God, some of you found it very difficult, not your batch, but the previous batch found it very difficult because of all the expectations. And since the document came out in 2011, already they wanted us to incorporate the changes in the academic year 2013 itself. We have not been able to do it in 2013, but about 2017 we got it. So basically, the 3-year program at JDV. We have 120 credits, obligatory basic, then 24 in a supplementary basic, optional additional 24, then research methodology, faith and reason, Latin. So these are also credits given. So 24, this 3 gives us 12, 24, then 120. So that makes it 180. So BPH exception students, pay attention. This 24 and this 24, 48, that is actually what you get for your BA. You have to take 120 credits in obligatory basic and 12 credits in these 3 supplementary basic courses. Is it very clear how you are structured? This is clearly given to us by row. We don't have much flexibility, but we try to be helpful to you in this process. Let me conclude this, and then I will give you some time to question. Okay, once again, our Versaldi, he would be the prefect. Now, Veritatis gaudium is an extension of it. This is issued by Pope Francis. Veritatis gaudium is an apostolic constitution on ecclesiastical universities and faculties. It was signed on December 8, 1927 and promulgated 2 years ago on January 29. And it updates the earlier constitution, Sapientia Christiana. The document is 87 pages. There is no change as far as philosophy is concerned, all the matter of philosophy is taken from the earlier document which we saw of 2011. And one quote from there, the joy of truth. You know, the name Veritatis gaudium means Veritatis truth, gaudium joy. The joy of truth expresses the restlessness of the human heart until it encounters and dwells within God's light and shares that light with all people. So the joy of truth expresses the restlessness of the human heart until it encounters and dwells within God's light. You know, this reminds us of Augustine's motto: our hearts are restless, O Lord, and until it finds its rest in you, we will be restless. That motto of Augustine, today's patron saint, is very, very important for us. Okay, some of the main issues that we will be seeing that Veritatis gaudium encourages are a courageous renewal of the ecclesiastical studies. Renewal. Catholic universities are missionary. A cultural revolution in the light of our tradition. Discovering God in every human person. Dialogue with believers and non-believers. That is ecumenical dialogue, interreligious dialogue, and dialogue with atheists. Unity of knowledge in the face of uncertain and fragmented pluralism. Networking with other universities. Reviving research. Theology lives on the frontiers. Theology lives on the frontiers. I have another article, I have already attached to that, which explains all these points. This, you know, theology lives at the frontiers, going out to the margins. That has been a suggestion of Pope Francis. So we are not strangers to this. This is the highlights of our philosophy theology studies. So that is the end of our PowerPoint presentation. Any comments, any reflections?
Yes, Father.